What's going on, guys? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Dokie, let me just give me a minute or two to get set up. Dokie. What's going on? Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everyone's enjoying the weekend. Favorite day of the week, study time. So looking forward to this session. A lot of folks have asked, as you can see, 72 folks here in the Discord have asked for a crypto-related technical analysis. Crypto was a huge outperformer this past week in the global marketplace. So I'm going to be talking through some of the technicals and indexes, comparisons, etc. So tune in here. It's about a quick session, probably about 20-30 minutes, guys. I don't want to take up much time of you guys. So we're going to kind of jump in right away and get through some technical analysis. Yeah, so let's get focused, let's get ready, and we'll get into it. Give everyone a couple minutes, couple seconds to jump on, and we will get started. Awesome. What's going on, guys? Let's give everyone about 10-20 seconds to jump in here, and we will get started. Hopefully everyone's having a wonderful Sunday, getting prepared for another crazy market week. Awesome. I'm going to get started here, guys, shortly. Bear with me. It's getting set up. Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to probably jump into it here. It's a little early for a lot of folks. People are jumping on. What's going on, RLG? People are jumping on here, and we're going to get started. So while people are jumping on, hope everyone's having a great weekend. So I wanted to, there's about 72 folks in our Discord. Spud for Sponsored. If you guys are just tuning in for the first time, welcome to the study session. Try to do these bi-weekly, once a month sort of ordeal, and we just mash the technicals. So I'm a very technical focused trader. We look at sort of demand, supply zones, what price action's doing. In my experience, price action dictates market movement based off of exactly the technicals that we're looking at. And so crypto-related equity assets, I'm going to talk through some of the watches and sort of things that I'm looking at and seeing some major outperformance. Last week, the QQQ finished down, red over a full percent, SPY red over a full percent, and the Dow, I believe, almost a full percent down on the red side of the week. So we actually saw crypto, Bitcoin itself, have an outperformance of a week. In the last 7 days, Bitcoin is up 15%, and that is on the weekly chart. That's really incredible. It's one of the biggest weekly gains Bitcoin has seen since early 2023. It's now up pretty big on 2023, big outperformer. And so we're starting to get out of this downtrend. And I'm going to talk through some crypto-related assets that are also starting to slowly get some buy pressure and outperform. This space is heavily shorted. It's very frowned upon right now. There was a lot of rumors around liquidity issues. There's SEC coming for Coinbase, SEC going at Binance, the US. There's a lot of mix-ups, mixed messaging. There's a lot of negativity out there, and as we saw what happened with negativity in the global marketplace in early 2022 and in late 2021, things got smashed. Things really fell. SPY fell 20-30%. QQQ was down almost 40% there, 36-38% at Throth. I mean, it was pretty ugly there for a while. A lot of folks, thought the markets were going to continue to go down over the next, 6 to 12, 18 months. And we've seen the complete opposite. It's been incredible strength. It's been eye-opening for many, including many traders. It's been a very rough trading year for a lot of folks, I know, including myself. It hasn't been too fun, but, there's always trade opportunities out there. And I'm looking at these Bitcoin related trade ideas, and that's sort of, I don't trade crypto assets itself. So when I say I'm looking at crypto things, I'm looking at the equities that trade on the exchanges that are sort of like crypto related, right? That have maybe good charts, great volume, technicals are pretty easy to read. And so when I look at crypto, I think Bitcoin and I think Ethereum. And those are the two major players where a lot of the liquidity sits. I'm sure there's other altcoins and all that crap. I don't look at any of that. I just look at the two major players. So I want to take a dive into sort of Bitcoin itself. And then I want to roll through, and by any means, I have no crypto background. I'm not a crypto guy. I'm just strictly looking at the technical charts of Bitcoin itself in this instance. And then I'm going to talk through some equities on how you can play the crypto trade, whether it's long or you want to go short. And I'm going to talk through some of the sort of tickers that exist today where you can do that. So you actually don't need to open up a Coinbase account to trade these cryptos. You can actually trade them through equities today. So that's a whole nother piece of that as well. So I'm going to talk through that as well. So we're going to start with Bitcoin, the weekly chart here. So this is a weekly chart. Very, very key technical level, which is why I wanted to have this session. And it seems like a lot of folks are interested in having this session because it was such an outperformer last week. And it seems like tons of inflows were coming into the sector. And I want to talk through that because we could continue to see that strength and momentum play out this week. And it's important to play the momentum, of course, but then how do we take that momentum and match it with the technicals and the charts itself? And that's where we sort of put together this powerful play and powerful read. So Bitcoin itself, right, we broke over and held a base of 25. So the downtrend was here from from June of last year in 2022. Now we're in June, right? We've now broken out of this downtrend. Once we got above this candle of 28,000, we're now sort of breaking out of the downtrend. We're in a very key spot here as we approach what I call a triple top in trading. Many members or students of ours in the Discord sort of know what we talk about, what a triple top, right? It's typically a resistance. In my experience, a lot of triple tops end up breaking out to the upside. Typically on a double top, you'll get a reversion, maybe a mean trade, pivotal trade back down. In this scenario, Bitcoin's actually holding a higher low, which is extremely impressive. It bounced off 25 like a magnet, and now it's breaking out over basically $30,000 for the first time in quite some time, almost last year. So I don't know if this rally's done, guys. Let's look at the technicals here. So if we continue to break out, Bitcoin has all of this gap percentage, and these blue horizontal lines are my functionality of what I call a support base, a demand zone, or a supply zone, aka resistance. And so what that basically means in here is we're seeing some major demand at Bitcoin at 25 to 28,000 a share. However you word that, and then we're seeing major demand in the 20,000 range, right? We've now built out this base. So we bottomed, we bought, we sold, panic sold, we built out a base, we recovered. We built out a higher base, we recovered even higher. Now we're building a higher base and we're breaking out. Where I can potentially see Bitcoin going, folks, is we have an immediate resistance at the 32 level, 32.33 level. If you get above 32.33, which I think this has potential to continue to run, if liquidity continues to stay and we're continuing to see upside, we could see this full gap to the 37 range, 36, 37 range. And if you think about it, guys, that would be another 10, 15, 20, 25% from the current level Bitcoin is at now. And that's just based on me looking at it and reading a chart here. So this is Bitcoin is currently breaking out of its downtrend. Will it reject here and go right back to 27, 28? It could. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying I'm looking at the chart here. And if we break over 32, 33, you could get a blow-off squeeze top in the 36, 37 range. Okay, so that's where I'd be looking short-term targets if I'm playing Bitcoin. Now, okay, you might say, I don't have a crypto account because I don't trade crypto. I don't have a crypto account, right? So how would I trade Bitcoin if I think it has some more potential juice left in the tank? There's a pro share Bitcoin ETF here. It's called BIDO, however you want to say it. And this is basically long Bitcoin. So if you're long Bitcoin here, you can see the chart as well, right? So 17s, it has the gap fill up to the 2023 zones, even over 18s to 20s, right? So this is how I potentially look to long Bitcoin if you are not a crypto trader or anything like that, which many people aren't. So you can look at that. If you're looking to short Bitcoin, if you're looking to play short, you actually don't need to short the equity. It's the Bitcoin itself. You can just actually play it off BTC, which is a pro shares Bitcoin ETF. And BTC is the way how you would potentially play that on a pro short side. So if you're looking to sell this name and you're thinking it's going to go lower, and if you wanted to play this down the road, BTC would be how you potentially play that for sort of a short, right? So BIDO is the same thing. Actually, a lot of institutional traders, prop shop traders, and people will play this name. A lot of traders, a lot of volume. This name trades a ton of volume. Just last week alone, it traded 75 million shares at $17 a share. It looks like, between 16 and 18s here. Between 14 and 17s. So, there's a lot of liquidity in this ETF, BIDO, BITO. So this is just the pro share Bitcoin to the long side. So there's a lot of traders that trade the crypto stuff through this name. This is sort of the top read or top look, as you per se, for those large cap traders. This is how they play the trade. So this is BIDO, BITO. I highly recommend checking that one out just to read through it. So that's your short and long ETFs off of Bitcoin itself. I then want to take a look at Ethereum because actually Bitcoin is outperforming Ethereum on a last week basis, which is, we haven't seen that. Ethereum's typically outperformed Bitcoin over the last 2 years, but now we're seeing Bitcoin sort of come back. So Bitcoin had almost double the percentage gains last week than Ethereum did, which is quite impressive. And if you look, Ethereum's still in the downtrend. Ethereum needs to break sort of that 2100 level, and then it's sort of in the range, then it's sort of in that gap up range, which could get back to 2600. So that's a big move. That's a 30, 40, 50% move for Ethereum, right? This is the weekly chart again. But if you remember, guys, we just went through Bitcoin, right? I just want to show you what outperformance versus average performance looks like. Ethereum had a great week. Don't get me wrong. It beat probably all the index. It beat basically everything. But I want to show you the comparison of Bitcoin's weekly candle. Look at that weekly candle. We're now sort of in that testing that range, that breakout range, right? Whereas the Ethereum is just not there yet. So Bitcoin, I actually would look to play the Bitcoin bounce before I play the Ethereum because just of outperformance and volume indicators, right, that we just walked through. How to play this one, not really sure. I don't think there's any. There may be some equity ETFs or equity plays through the Ethereum itself, the Ethereum network itself. I'm not sure. Maybe the crypto bros or the crypto gurus will talk about something like that. I don't know. But I don't watch any of that. I don't follow that. I'm just talking technicals, guys. So my favorite sort of setup to play the whole crypto craze as well, if you're not trading the Bitcoin itself on or through the BIDO equity, is a company everyone knows pretty well, I'm sure, is Coinbase. They've had a lot of scrutiny lately. The SEC thing, the coins. There's been lawsuits. It's been a mess. Crypto's just been a mess lately. A lot of negative headlines, but it's actually outperforming. So you're seeing all these negative headlines come in, yet the sector and the stocks are actually going up. So it's funny. You would think there'd be like major selling and panic, but no, people are buying the news as if like, no, we're buying this. And so that's what the price action is showing. And Coinbase is at a very key spot in the chart, guys. We had major sell pressure, if you guys remember back in May. We had 212 million shares get sold out in 1 week, right? 212 million shares of volume, tons of sell there, a huge red bar. We're now starting to see what I call forming a consolidated base. And what I mean by that is we had the blowout, we had the full washout down to the 30s, right? Sort of washed down in 30, 35, 40. And now we're holding. If you guys see this horizontal line, that is my demand zone. We've now seen a demand zone at $55 a share for practically a year now. This is going to be one of my top trades, top trade ideas, top watches for the next couple weeks / months because of how strong this has held the 50 to 55 range. Now, guys, let's look at what near-term targets could potentially be to the upside based on the technicals. So I'm looking, right, 64 seems like a nice spot, followed by the upper horizontal version, around $74 a share within this interval. If you break out of this sort of interval 1, interval 2, I'd call it, Interval 3 has a gap all the way to, let's put that in here, all the way to about 90, 95. Let's look at the two top ends of these wicks, which is where the rally ended. Maybe you could go back to 86, so the 80s. So if this continues up, you have immediate potential at 64 and an immediate potential at 73, 74. And that would be sort of where the meat of that rally sort of ended last time, and could have the blow off top at 80s again. I'm really liking this setup off of dips right now. If you can maybe get a dip this week to back to 50 or 40s, that would be amazing. But it got really bid up hard on Friday midday. Coinbase closed up 6.92%. Heavily shorted name. People are very negative on it. I think it has some room left to run in the tank. So keep an eye for upside over the 70 range here this week or in the coming weeks. I would like to see if that continued buy pressure, continued price action is coming this week. And this is all off, right, the Bitcoin and Ethereum play, right, that those technicals are breaking out, right? So what else would, as a trader, right, myself, what else am I looking at technically that could potentially break out? Coinbase is sort of my top play, top focus off of the crypto outperformance we've seen the last week. That's a big level. If you want to talk through some of the miners, you have Mara and Riot, as many folks know. Mara in this is also in a technical sort of stance. Not yet in an uptrend, though. It's trying to break out of its downtrend. There's some resistance in the 1480s. You break through that and you have a nice gap up to 17s, and that should be clear cut. If you break the 14s, I think you could get a nice clear trend to the 15, 16, 17, 18 zones. But as I said, it's still stuck in this downtrend because it hasn't broke the 1450 plane yet. And I'd like to see it get over that before you can sort of see that A confirmation move. But this is a name clearly that is having a big volume week. Last week alone, they traded 313 million shares. So Mara, again, it will be a top watch. Coinbase as the top watch. And then BIDO if you're trading the long from a Bitcoin standpoint, if you're long, if you're trying to play the Bitcoin bounce. This is Mara. Same thing with Riot. I don't play Riot. I actually just trade Mara. It actually gets more volume. See, if you look at Mara traded 200 million shares more on Friday. It's just more volume, easy, better liquidity for me. So that's just a miner I trade more. Now I want to talk through, so that's sort of we've been about 20 minutes, I have about 5 or 8 minutes left, guys, and thanks for bearing through. Maybe I'll quickly do some questions, but hopefully this is helpful. Cool. Walking through the crypto stuff. Cool. There's a good amount of viewers on this. That's excellent. Now I want to talk through some speculative names I just kind of quickly do, like pennies / small cap stuff. And just to look at a couple, I found a few on Scan that are sort of peaking a little bit. None that necessarily have great volumes like a Mara or a BIDO or a Riot or a Coin, but some that seem like they're starting to perk a bit. They may catch volume this week or the coming weeks, right, if crypto continues to outperform. And this is Bit Mining, so BTCM, absolutely disgusting chart, but it's sort of basing itself out in the 2s here with a high of 4s. So this could be a potential like higher risk sort of multi-day swing if it starts to get some volume. It's still very low volume, but if you could see it sort of held that base, and if crypto continues to perform, maybe this name could gear up back into the 3s or maybe even the 4s as a blow up. It's currently at 262 as you can see, but the chart is sort of bottoming formation. If you see it kind of V shapes, it kind of holds a U shape, and then maybe we get that like move over here. So keep an eye on BTCM. That's one of the names. A better name, I think, in terms of liquidity-wise from my analysis here today is the name ARBK. If you could see, there's a weekly Shrek candle here. It is actually up 56% last week. Traded over 3 million shares. So I would look at ARBK as sort of that top speculative crypto trade right now from the small cap thing, because you want liquidity, right? You want the volume. You also want range percentage. So a stock that finishes up 56% on the week is quite impressive. It has to be, for me, a top watch next week, right? And for this trade, if we look at the horizontal, there's some major resistance here on the top end wick at about 284. Stock is currently at a 155 or 161. It closed. So keep an eye. If it breaks over 2, I think you can have the upside into the mid 2s. 2's a nice big break here. This is also a sort of a bottoming formation around $1. So this is more of a volatile one, but as I said, right, it has some liquidity, has some range percentage, and it moves quite fast. So this would be more of like a scalp trade, scalp idea, maybe a one-day hold if crypto continues to fly. This is how I potentially look at a spec trade. So we have BTCM as a small cap spec trade, and then ARBK as a small cap check trade. The other one, even a worse chart, which would be the third watch for the spec names for me. BTB, it was an old runner a long time ago. In 2022, this thing ripped from $2 all the way to 12, and then it just got absolutely massacred. I mean, 75% weekly candle down. So there's a lot of dead money in here, a lot of sell money in here. But as I mentioned, this is the weekly chart. Let me quickly jump to the daily. Daily's even more gross. Full downtrend unless it gets back over $1. Maybe it can push up to the 130s. But this is at 64 cents now. But as I said, it is so beat up and cheap down there that maybe it gets bid up. It had 2 monster green candles over the last few days. Maybe it gets bid up back to 80 cents, 79 cents. But, that key break would be over 79 cents and then over $1, 94 cents there. So it could potentially have upside. But as I said, the chart doesn't look as good as the BTCM or the ARBK chart. And that's where it seems like there's some more volume going. So, keep an eye on this is BTB. The other one I think is BTBT. This is actually a much better chart. As you can see, they're breaking out here. And I haven't charted this one, so let me quickly do that. If you have a horizontal line, this was in a major downtrend if you look, right? If we look at the daily, this chart's looking really great. Look at the green volume candles. That shows great liquidity. We're now seeing this break over the let me see what that is, 410 zones, right? And that was a Shrek candle above it. And looks like the next sort of resistance level where this may want to go is at 488. It's at 435. So like it is tough, right? Because this name's went from 53 cents to $4. And where we are in the rally, right? Like this is sort of filling its upside potential, right? So, this is a name clearly that's been doing really well. So it's not as attractive to me as a BTCM or ARBK because those names like haven't been doing that well and are starting to look good. Whereas this name sort of is looking really good and it has done really good, right? So I don't know if I want to jump into this name, but if you break out a 488, this could have some really nice moves into the 5, 6, 7s. So this is a name I definitely keep an eye on if this continues to go. Earnings, I'm looking at revenues just from a quick standpoint. Not that it matters on these kind of names, but revenues are okay, 7, 8, 9 million. So that's decent. So it's not terrible. They're not doing any revenue. They actually have some revenue here. So keep an eye on this one. This one potentially could continue more. So those are 4 names from the sort of the spec trade, I like to call it. And those are your sort of small med caps, high flyers or high losers, right? They move fast, they move quickly, the volatility, right? But you always want to look at the liquidity, right? I have 3 trading rules, right? And that's depending on whatever you're trading in equities per se, right? I have 3 trading. One is what I call range gap percentage. The stock has to have gap percentage. It can't just sit there like a Pfizer or a Dow Jones ticker or Dow Industrial Jones ticker where it's trading 0.5% gains on the day and that's on the week and that's like all they have. I'm looking for things that move up and down quickly where you can make a nice spread. You can short or you can long and you can make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15% on a day or a week or a month, right? Quick things that are moving at a fast pace. The second thing I look for is what I call liquidity, right? Volume and liquidity. You don't want to be trading something that's so thin where if you get in, all of a sudden a heavy sell comes in on the 5-minute or 15-minute or 1-hour chart. And I'm sure everyone's been a part of that way or have seen that before, right? Or been, I've lost tons of trades that way where it's like, oh, the chart looks really good. You get in, a day later, bang, it loses 10, 15% and there's not much selling, but you got in, but you got in too late, right? So like you always want to look for liquidity, right? So where you can get in and out and the liquidity is great to get in and out on, but it's still moving in that direction that you saw. So that's a big rule for me. That's rule number 2. And then the third one is always have a stop loss in mind or always have multiple target zones, profit zones where you can be scaling out if they hit, right? And so for me, stop loss is key because the reality is that, kind of going off on a tangent here, the reality is that the best traders, guys, in the world, and you could read multiple studies on this, the best traders in the world only win about 55 to 65, 70% on the high end of the time. So, and you're probably saying, how do they make all that great money? Like, how do traders, the big traders in the world, how do they make so much money? Well, what they do is they keep their losses extremely tight. So they keep their losses tight, but when they have winners, they really take advantage of the winners and they really let the winners run. And so trading is really about how to maintain capital and not lose the capital, so that when you have a winning trade, you can sort of play it out a little bit further. And a lot of folks, including myself sometimes, I'm bad sometimes at letting my winners run. I scale out too quickly. What I am pretty good at most of the time, is I'm pretty disciplined, is cutting my losses quickly. When I have a losing trade, I take my loss and I move on right away. I clear my head and I go for the next one. I sit back, I take a breath, and I look for the next trade. And I try not to let the big losses hit me. But when you have a big loss, it's sometimes devastating. It happens. I've had a couple really big losses this year, and it's not fun. But when you have a good winning trade, it feels nice, but you sometimes feel that you have to rush to take the profit. And that's sort of sometimes how my emotions hit, or how everyone's emotions hit. But a lot of the times is the best traders in the world will let those winning trades run, even though they're only winning probably 50 to 60% of the time. People think the best traders in the world are winning 90% of the time. They're not. They're winning probably half of that. And so it's really essential to, use those stop losses to your comfort zone, use those target levels that you sort of map out, whether it's a technical formation, whether it's momentum, whether it's based on fundamentals, whether it's based on market interpretation or what the media is saying, whatever your targets are, right? You should have a target on a trade before you enter or exit that trade, right? You should have, okay, where's my line in the sand where I cannot take any more pain? Where's my max pain? Okay, my max pain's 5%. Bitcoin loses 5% tomorrow, I cut my loss or I take my profits, and that's my max pain, right? So those are the three things I think about, right? Is the range percentage, how fast or how much gap percentage we're seeing in that particular equity, index, option contract, ETF, whatever it may be. That's the first thing I'm looking for, is range. If it's not moving strong, I don't waste my time. Second thing I look for is liquidity. Is there a lot of volume coming in and out of it? Great. Okay, that's 2 check marks. The third is, how can I take advantage of this volume and liquidity? How can I take advantage of all this gap percentage, short or long? Okay, I want to take advantage of that. So let's set some expectations. Let's see what targets. Where's the resistance level? Where is there a lot of buying being done? Where is there a lot of selling being done? Okay, that's how I'm going to line up my T's. That's how I'm going to line up my targets. Then I'll look for an entry on whatever that may be. So that's how I think about a trade, right? Same thing when you're talking to any of these stocks, whether it's these small spec stocks, whether it's Bitcoin itself, right? Whether it's BIDO we talked through. And then we went through, right? My favorite watch, I think, for this upcoming week is Coin, right? It's been consolidating in this range for like a year and a half now in the 50-55 zone. Like, is it ready to maybe break back out into the 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s, right? If Bitcoin continues to absolutely run, Coin could have like a 10-20% week. It could continue going, right? So keep an eye on that kind of momentum. And you take that momentum and you build it into like a technical analysis model here, like what I'm doing, and then you could create your own targets. You could create your own resistances. You could create your own demand zones, right? As I always say and always read about, and a lot of good traders will tell you this, is price action dictates market movement. It's not what people are saying. It's not what things are doing. Not what folks are doing. It's what is the price action tape, what people are willing to pay and sell for an equity or whatever it is, underlying index equity, whatever it is. Where is that going? It's all based on price action. You can just see it, you can read it, you can feel it, and then that's how you can potentially trade off of that in a technical aspect. So I'm hoping this session's pretty helpful. I kind of went on a tangent there, but I love to talk through that stuff. I love to teach, coach, as you guys could probably see. This is my favorite stuff. I eat, breathe, sleep equities like 20 hours a day. I love enjoying questions. You can always DM me. I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday, back and forth around sort of setting up trades, how to find the trades, how to risk off trades, and sort of getting comfortable with things like that. I'm always happy to answer any questions trading related, and share my experiences, my big losses, my big gains, what I've seen a lot over the last 4 or 5 years doing this full time, and you can see start to repetition. You can see things start to sort of come out, play out, etc. So feel free to shoot DMs. Always try to be accessible. I hope this session was helpful. So from the watch standpoint this week, I'm watching BTC, right? We're watching Bitcoin. It's potentially breaking out over this 30-31 range. Immediate targets for if we break out into the upper band here would be 32, 33. Once we get in this level, though, there is major gap upside because it's trading above this original downtrend. So this could be sort of a 1 to 2 week play where Bitcoin could potentially get up to 36, 37 grand. Keep an eye on that, guys. It's holding well over the weekend. This will be a top watch this week. How to play that? I think you could play it through a Coinbase watch coin this week. I'll be looking for volatility. If it doesn't break out over the 60s, 70s, it could, potentially reject back to 50 or 40s, which would be fine. For maybe adding on some more longs. And then BIDO is the pro share long Bitcoin ETF. As you can see, it's had its most weekly volume in probably a year or two. So keep an eye on BIDO. If you're a short seller and you're looking to short this crypto and you think this rally is unsustainable, you can look at BITI. That is the pro short for Bitcoin itself. And then your miners, right? These are your they just follow the price of Bitcoin and sort of the QQQs. Big volumes on these miners. Mara would be my top miner watch if you're a miner guy or gal. Mara. And then there's spec names. I said you have BTCM if you're writing these down. Is a watch. ARBK is another decent watch. It's holding nice. The one that's really outperforming spec-wise so far, crypto-wise, is BTBT from a chart perspective. It's really filled a lot of the upside targets. I did not play this name, but I'm just quickly looking at it from a chart. It seems like it's up almost 400% in the last almost 6-7 months, which is great. And then BTB would be another one, really disgusting chart, but sort of a very low spec watch. So keep an eye on those names, folks. I hope this session was pretty helpful. Feel free to like, subscribe, or share. If you're new to the streams, you can always check out our Discord. Do try and trade live and do a lot of sort of trade ideas and technical analysis within the server. These are just sort of 1 every 2, 3, 4 week sessions. But hopefully all the crypto people that came out to watch this was a helpful session from you sort of getting your price action understandings. It was very helpful for me because it made me sit down and see where we are in the cycle with crypto. And crypto was trying to break out of its downward channel. And we saw the markets break out of its downward channel, right? We saw SPY break over 400 and 410 and bang, it hit the 440s last week after 2 or 3 weeks of consolidating. So we saw it break out of a downtrend, the SPY, and then it ripped another 5-7% higher. QQQ ripped another 10% higher over a time period. So it could be a similar setup with Bitcoin, which is why I'm charting it, which is why I'm finding the technical analysis on it, because there could be some great trade ideas going forward with some of these names, guys. Hopefully this session was helpful. Cheers. Happy Sunday. Go enjoy the rest of your day. And yes, looking forward to seeing everyone this week. Have a lovely rest of your weekend. Take care. Spud Zone out.